Welcome to the next installment of the Dismount Podcast, and today we are discussing episode 47, Prehistoric. How did we live before cell phones? All right, if you're a listener of today's episode and you were born in the 90s or earlier, this one's going to hit home for you. It's going to feel very nostalgic. You're going to feel all the feels. If you were born in 2000 or earlier, our 2000 to 2025 babies, this is not going to feel, you're going to get a history lesson right now, and it's going to be like, what the hell did these guys experience?
If you are an infant listening to this podcast,
listening to this podcast.
If you have ADHD, you probably had a cell phone in your hand.
you probably swipe past this already.
Do you date off an app?
That is, wow, I didn't think about that one. So this podcast, the Dismount Podcast, we got Titty, we got Brandon, we got Derek, and we got myself, Zach. And today we are discussing cell phones and all of the things that happened prior to us literally having cell phones, arguably kind of glued to ourselves. And this podcast is all about like a deep dive into the people that are come on, our guests, ourselves, the hosts, and we consider ourselves the Dismount OGs. This is the OG clan right here. These are the ones who started this whole thing. And today you're going to be taking a ride with us on a nostalgic trip for millennials and older. And Gen Zs, take some notes because you guys have experienced things completely different than we did. So we put together 6 questions, as we always do, and we journal on those questions. And then we come here, and it's an authentic, vulnerable, deep dive into the minds, experiences, and all-around circumstances that we've experienced throughout our life to this age. So that episode outline for today. Question number 1. Do you remember what it was like not having easy access to communicate instantly with someone? Number 2. At what age did you get your first cell phone, and how many people before you had one? Did you get it out of necessity? Are there ways that you benefited from cell phones over the years that without them, you feel things would have been extremely different or not as good? That's number 3. Number 4, are there any ways that cell phones have negatively affected you? The ability to share your thoughts and emotions without the face-to-face interaction makes things easier, but does it come at a cost? Short-term, long-term. Number 5, do you feel that deep communication in your life has actually suffered from easy access or become stronger? Number 6, if you had a 10-year-old today, that's for the 3 of us who are in our 30s now, would you put a cell phone in their hand? Do you know of any alternative ways that you could have access to those little ones without having to give them full access to the internet? We'll share. Maybe we got some sneaky ones in there. Maybe we know some kids. I got a niece who actually has a great way of how my sister communicates with her, and I will share that later on. But let's go ahead and rip into number 1. That number 1 question was, do you remember what it was like not having easy access to communicate instantly with someone? And I feel like you need to rip this one, D.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you looking out for me. Yeah, I mean, I do. I can think back to probably, let's say, pre-high school, grade school for sure. There were a lot of opportunities for me to still hang out with friends, or I feel like back then I spent a lot more time with family, but the barrier to instant communication was definitely there. I think we'll all probably touch on the house phone and like the dial-up internet in that game of me coming back and wanting to call. Brandon knows my buddy Dave Silverman. We grew up with him, great kid, one of my best friends growing up, and him and I spent a lot of time on the phone, house phone. It was only one. And, you get your ass kicked off pretty quickly when grandma needs the phone or whatever it might be. But we would do everything on the house phone. We'd play the same video game and just talk on the phone, play like the same story. But he was very good at video games. I was horrible. So I would have him kind of walk me through things I couldn't beat on the phone. We would
Xbox Live before it was Xbox Live.
Yeah, that was back when like they had like Xbox Live on the original Xbox, but no one actually knew what it meant. Now
costs too much.
Yeah, and you had to like plug it. Yeah, I had to talk to my grandma to plugging it straight into the modem. She's like, I don't even know what that is. You're not doing it. I know we need internet. My grandma was great. We had everything. Like my grandma she was known for her credit card usage. We had everything instantly. We had like 3 house phones. We had the AOL internet. But I remember a lot of phone time spent with David growing up. Prank calls. You guys ever rip prank calls back in the day?
Your fridge is running.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Oh, really?
Well, you better go catch it.
Yeah, I wish I was that simple. I wish my prank calls were that simple. I think 10-year-old me was a little more facetious. Like, dude, we would just open the yellow pages. They'd just start calling. They're like, hey, is this Alfred Smith? Yeah. Like, Alfred, I hate to report that you are behind in your taxes.
10-year-old you was coming after taxes.
Well, which is all great until you realize there's three landlines in the house, and then your mom picks up and she listens to you for 30 seconds, and then she realizes why you've been locked in the bathroom for 25 minutes. So you've been trying to hide. But those are a lot of things where like the instant communication was nice. Like I felt like a couple of things where, you know, I was able to still prioritize like bonding with friends, but it was more intentional, or like the family aspect of, you know, it felt more connected. Like I didn't have to, you know, realize my cousin had graduated high school on Facebook. Like I was usually around them more. I think I spent a lot more time with family growing up too than I do now, but it feels so artificial to see that stuff online and not actually experience it with them. But going back to like the pre-cell phone days, I thought about too was the amount of phone numbers I remember off the top of my head. Like I know Brandon's number off the top of my head. Still know. I don't know why, which makes sense. I know.
I don't know yours.
I got 412 blah 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 blah. I know that. Yeah. Okay.
I don't believe you.
I'm kidding. I'll say, hey, Brandon's phone number. You want to bleep this out? You want to bleep this out? I knew David's house phone number. I could still rattle it off. I haven't called that number in 20 years. I still knew that one was very easy. I know my dad's. I know my mom's, my sisters. I know my brothers. I know a lot of phone numbers off the top of my head from just dialing. I was a big dialer back in the day.
I feel like that benefited us in terms of like our memory too.
Yeah.
It's like having that short-term memory that you ended up like, now look how deep you are in your life and you still remember all those things.
I can't remember. Right. And like it's programmed into your head. I guess the thought process behind memory is you're not remembering it the first time you remember it. You're just remembering the last time you remembered it. So I programmed that phone number in my head from dialing it a million times, you know? And that was my source of freedom connecting with my friend was, as long as I knew those 10 digits, it was 7 back in the day. You remember when they put the area codes?
Oh, yeah.
That was during our
So
childhood
good.
too. They added the area codes on too.
Second grade for me. I know that.
Because it used to be the 7 digits and it would dial up. Then you need the area codes for
Yeah.
whatever reason. But thinking back into other forms of communication, I think the AOL or AIM instant messenger needs a shout out because that was pre-cell phone.
Yeah.
And it was more instant communication. It's probably our first sense of being able to instantly communicate with a friend, but that was only if they were online. Like you couldn't access it anywhere. They had to be in front of their computer. So you get there, and a lot of times you get the away message, unfortunately. You're trying to slide in on the girl in 6th grade, and you realize she got the away message. It says like realize or something, or some like emo Fall Out Boy lyrics. And you're like,
I never did the AIM.
I didn't think you did. I've never.
No.
Brandon, I don't know that you've had it.
That is one of the things I'm going to mention. DMs, before there was DMs, there was IMs. And you had to schedule a time. So you had to schedule, if we wanted to talk on there, not only did we have to worry about brothers or sisters being on the line at the same time, but you also had to schedule a time to go. Like, say you wanted to Mac. If you wanted to Mac, you'd be like, hey, what time are you going to be on? I'll be on at 6. All right, cool. I'll be on at 6:15. I'll talk to you then.
Oh, damn.
He said, nah,
I wasn't suave like that.
Yeah, I'll be on at 6:15.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't all like that. I wasn't. Another thing I thought of was not a big note passer. Did you guys ever write notes back in the day? I think Brandon was you catch me as a note guy. Brandon exhausted every effort. I'm pretty sure.
Went through all. I even had Sean John, like, before P. Diddy, before any of that stuff came out, he had a cool flavor to all his style. Sometimes as that kid showed up, I would wear a monochrome outfit for yearbook pictures, and I'd be like I was that guy.
Mean mugging. Yeah.
He was a smooth operator. Like he reminds me of like I think when I think of Titty, I think of the scene from Friday whenever they're in the eating breakfast, and she goes, Oh, your dad was a macaroni. I think-
Yep. That's not many people can pull that off, and that was Brandon. Yep. That will be Brandon in like 10 years eating breakfast with his daughter.
I'm gonna be taking a shit. Hey, Hannah, come in.
Come here. Hey,
Oh, Dad, it smells awful. Yeah, hold on, just come in here for a minute. I heard you lost your job.
how come every time I'm in the kitchen, you in the kitchen?
Goddamn refrigerator. All damn food.
Yeah. So, but the one thing that I think stuck out most thinking back on this stuff was like a couple of things. I mentioned the family aspect. Like, it is wild for me to think of the time gap. And I don't know what it was that occurred in my family where I stopped being in touch with like my cousins and their kids, and saw them recently over the summer. And like 2 of my 3 older cousins are going to college now. And I'm like, yo, you were like 10. Like last year. Are you sure this is right? So like seeing them accomplishing things, like one going to like West Virginia, I think the other one's going like Waynesboro, Edinburgh, or something, one of those up north type schools or whatever. But like seeing that type of stuff is kind of tough because you realize you're not as invested in their lives anymore, where like the gratification of seeing that stuff online doesn't hit the same as it did when you were there experiencing with them. And I find that tough too, because it feels like everything with the phone's so instant. Like I am still a part of their life. Oh, like my cousin's going to college. Everything's going well for them. That's awesome. But it felt so much more intentional, and the opportunity to really experience those things with them isn't really there anymore. The other thing that I kind of thought of too was with the phone, everything feels so like instant and such a need for like a dire answer as well. So, you know, when your phone rings,
That's my work phone, Tit.
Okay.
That's up on the.
So when your phone rings like it is right now in the background, for me, my instant reaction is, oh my God, someone in my family just died. It's that dire, where like if you take a step back when you were younger and you realize nothing really bad happened. Like the 1 out of a million chance of all the scenarios that occur in your life that something bad has happened, like most likely, like if I have my cell phone 90% of the time, I'm going to answer the phone. So like going to the beach recently, and like I was very good about removing myself from the usage of the phone during that period, and realize, oh, like all the work stuff that I worry about not getting done, they'll call someone else and, you know, they'll make a sale. Or if I'm not next to my phone, my mom will call me and tell me she's in the hospital, and I'll miss it that one time. Like that shit feels so dire. And that's why cell phones are the way they are. Like I try to turn off notifications at night for Instagram after 8 o'clock, just so I don't get like DMs or like memes or something. So I'm like not focused on it. And it still finds a way to send me a damn notification.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just tough. So it's cool to see how you can step away. It's also kind of a bummer to see that like, you know, maybe the intentional aspect of it, of like spending time with family, understanding their accomplishments, feels like you don't need to, because you get that buffer zone of what's on social media. But I do miss that, where, you know, you would have to call someone up to talk about it, you know, or ask about how their life is going, as opposed to just saying, oh, there's a cool update that Mason had a great baseball game. Like, you know, and then you take a step back and you're like, is it, you know, I feel so disconnected. Like, and I yearn for that, that interaction and that focal point of family. Like, is it weird if I just start showing up at your baseball games after like 7 years? Like, I just like one day just come out, you know, and just like, oh, there's Derek. Like, why are you here? I'm like, dude, I miss you. I don't want to see you on Facebook anymore, you know? So I guess kind of reeling it in, it's like there were so many different ways that I remember growing up, like the phones, the IM Messenger, the passive notes, how creative we got. But as you get older and you get so much access to everything, you realize that that stuff was all that really mattered anyway. And the static noise of all the other shit that we are introduced to through social media or whatever it might be really doesn't matter. And the more you can prioritize stepping away from that, it makes a big difference.
Well, I think the one funny thing about cell phones when we started to get them was how obnoxious was it to actually text. When you had to use the 9 digits to actually make a word.
But I was a dude with the T9. I was a dog. I was a dog. I could sit there and I had a couple early cell phones. We'll get to those, but like I had like the Sony Ericsson phone, and my dad liked them because they had like one of the best cameras early on. But I could sit there in class and I was like, all right, I know where the middle button is, and like 1 2 3 3 7 2 3 7 space 2 3 7 7 2. And I'm like, I'm texting like, hey, are you making pizza for dinner, Mom? Like, yeah, she's like, you're supposed to be in math class. Like, what the hell? But dude, I always wanted, what was the sidekick?
Oh,
you ever,
yeah, sidekick or envy.
You ever
No.
you ever see the sidekicks?
I know what you're talking about.
You never had one.
No.
No, it wasn't.
T-Mobile came out with it.
Yeah, and that was I never got one, but it's one I wanted most because I always wanted the ability to have the keyboard.
The keyboard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, for me, when I first got a phone, the most amount of texting that I did, and also because like the texting didn't come, like there was no unlimited plans back then.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
So like texting cost.
count 'em.
Yeah, they counted them. So you only got a certain amount of those every month, and so it would only be like a OMW on my way or 5 minutes away. You know, like nothing crazy in that sense. But the Sony Ericsson makes me think of like Leif Erikson coming over on. This guy had the first ever Viking cell phone.
Dude, I
We
was
both had one, the same kind.
yeah, we
blue
did.
and silver.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We'll get. I want to get into that more, but go ahead. So with you guys and like thinking back to Zach specifically, like the ways that you remember having the early access communication that didn't involve a cell phone, what that looked like for you.
It was honestly like weekends. If you couldn't get a hold of your buddy, like you'd call and they'd be like, "Oh, well, JJ's already out riding his bike," and you'd be like, "Well, shit, there's like 5 places he could have rode his bike to." Well, I guess I'm going to ride my bike around to find where my buddy is. And you would go ride your bike around. Like the exercise that you got trying to get to those places where your friends were hanging out was a whole different vibe back then to like now it's like, well, I know exactly where they're at, where they're going, and I can just go straight to that point.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, I've now ridden 25 miles on my bike to try to find where my friends are at. I've
That's
now
how you
rode
got started.
yeah, that's exactly how I got started. Was just biking around. Were they at Hellhole? Were they down at PTT? Where were they riding their BMX bikes today? Like that's where honestly, like it was the beginning of it. And a lot of like for me, because I didn't get a cell phone till a lot later than you guys did, just looking at what you guys put down for the next question, a lot of my weekend turned into going to the video store with my parents, renting a video game that I didn't have, and playing it online with like friends through like Xbox Live. Because I had Xbox Live early, but I had Xbox Live and Party Chat before I think I had actual like a cell phone.
Yeah.
Which is freaking hilarious. Like,
I've always wanted to know someone who had it to ask what it was like because I'm like, was it dope?
I mean, it was not much different. Like, it was expensive, but it was not much different than like what you have nowadays. Like, it was just this Xbox Party Chat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I specifically, I just saw a video online of like the old like Modern Warfare 2 lobbies. And I got to experience that too when I was younger. Probably like I had the cell phone, but still like 13, 14. And God, man, we as a humanity, we are missing out on because even nowadays, like the lobbies aren't the same. It's not built the same as it was to have like a 13-year-old kid just telling a 30-year-old guy that he's going to sleep with his mom, like to keep it incredibly PG. Like there was something really beautiful about a 30-year-old guy getting back from his 12-hour shift and a 13-year-old kid who's not doing his homework, beating him in a game, and then telling him he's going to fuck his mom.
Jeez Louise.
Sorry. I mean, if you know, you know. For real.
You know, you know.
You
for
do.
real, though.
But there was a lot of that like interaction that I think was controlled. Like if you think about creative ways where kids could still communicate even nowadays without cell phones, like I feel like that's still somewhat healthy. It's monitored, where the internet's not. Like the people, like you can get banned so quickly on Xbox live chat, like immediately. Like if I talk shit on one person in a Call of Duty lobby, I'm off for like a week.
Yeah.
I just got to be quiet. So I think that like nowadays that's pretty simple. Or prioritizing like FaceTimes or like Skype calls, like that's all you really need.
Yeah.
We didn't get those in the past. I didn't have the luxury of you did growing up, where you lived in the same neighborhood. Like you went to a neighborhood like public school, so everyone you went to school with kind of lived in the same neighborhood around the school. Where as Brandon, pretty close to me, but not close enough to just roll up to your house. Or I think of David. David was in Westview, and I'm in North Side. That's a good 15-minute drive. There's no way a 13-year-old is riding his bike through there. So until I moved next to Josh when I was around 8th grade, I didn't have a neighbor who like I hung out with. In my dad's house, my mom's house, it wasn't a thing. I always had to prioritize the play dates or have those kind of planned out. I did have kids. My dad was with a woman for a little bit over in the Greenfield area, and there was kids across the street. And it was always fun to try to like court the kids in the neighborhood into like playing with you. Like if I saw them outside playing catch, I'd like go outside with like a ball and a bat and just like throw it up. like just looking incredibly lonely. They're like, "Hey, Derek, do you like want to play with us?" Like, "Oh, I didn't see you guys over there at all. I wasn't staring out the window for 3 hours waiting for you to get home. No big deal." You know?
That was a different vibe too. Like
Yeah.
when you're the kids on your street, because the kids on my street was like, I lived on a dead end street growing up. And there were some kids that were older than me that when we first moved onto the street, like when you got to hang out with some kids, like you're in like 4th grade and you got to hang out with some kids that were in 8th grade playing like street hockey because you could do that on my road. Like that was cool until a lot of them moved away and you were like, damn, this sucks. And now I just got the rest of the kids, and they don't like to do sports as much. And because they had motorsports, like they were the kids who had the dirt bikes and the quads and all that stuff. And like, we didn't have that type of money.
Right.
And my dad also really didn't want to get into all that shit. And like, so it was like, yeah, I want to ride your dirt bike, you know, like I want to hang out with those kids. And you hung out with them, and it wasn't the same as like playing sports or like having those kids that you played football with or whatnot. Because when you're just absolutely dominating some kids that don't like to play sports, you're like, this isn't as fun.
No.
I might feel like Shaq or Yao Ming right now, but like this isn't as fun, you know?
You feel
So
bad.
yeah, you do. You're like, oh, it's now 52-6. Like this is not okay.
Yeah.
But for you, Brandon, like ease of communication, what's the difference now?
I kind of miss it. I'll be honest. I kind of miss it. I don't think you should edit out that cell phone ringing earlier, because I think it really highlights how like, oh yeah, we're just like in our element, and then ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. It's like, what the fuck? Like for me internally, I'm like, oh shit. I was like, oh shit. But like, you know, kids will never know that feeling now. I guess unless their parents control it, but they won't know that feeling of just being able to be there unattached, separate. When we went camping, that was a huge thing that I think my parents intended on doing, was to have in them, like their 3 sons themselves. Half of my family actually went camping. Like my mom's side, almost the entire side went to the same camp. So I feel like truly I had a treasure of a childhood because I got to go shoot pool, go do these things. We didn't have the radio. I mean, we didn't have the cell phones. We had radios.
Yeah.
So you might turn on the radio. Most people, if they work like a field job, they might have a similar radio, but we just had these like $20 radios, and you just turn it on, and you might radio someone like, "Hey, you on?" Like, and we would just go knock on doors. I know you guys can relate to that feeling. You would just knock on your doors or your friend's house. And I don't remember how far Derek and I were into football, but there's a kid who didn't show up to football practice one day, and he lived by the field. And you know what the coach said? Go get him. So about 30 kids showed up, knock, knock. And his name was Kevin. Kevin, come on, get your ass outside. Throw on your pads. We got practice.
Yeah.
So like, you know, nowadays coach might say, "Hey, who got his number? Go give him a call." And then he might not answer. But, you know, in a culture where you're used to knocking on doors, that's what we do with neighborhood kids, knock on the door, "You home?" And be like, "No, you're not home." Or in the instance of trying to Mac back in the day, as we were talking about, you'd have to schedule times. You'd be like, "All right, what time are you going to be on IM?" And be like, "All right, cool, I'll be on." And then you had to fight your brothers to make sure that they're not kicking you off. And like, you're like, "Oh man, I'm putting in some good work. You know, I got that person's favor." Like, if it's a girl or whatever, you're like, "All right, cool." And then all of a sudden you're kicked off, and you turn around, your brother just picked up the phone, and he's just teasing. And I'm like, "You asshole!" But I feel like I kind of miss it, and I definitely also I had a certain list of numbers memorized. I had my dad's work phone, mom work phone. I had my grandma's phone number, and then our house phone. Those ones were like completely necessary. You would need to know those. And as you see in the background on our thumbnail, sometimes you had to keep change on you. And I remember Derek would know this place, but it's now Trio's Market, but it used to be Fisher's. There's a payphone right there. You had to know where the phones were. So if you went by somewhere, I knew there was a payphone by Fisher's Market. I knew in my school where all the main phones were. And if I go somewhere else that I would go on the regular, like, okay, where's the landline? There it is. Okay. So if I need something, I need to know how to get connected back. And that person also needs to be near the phone. So sometimes you just be staying at home just so you could be available to talk on the phone. And then that begs the question. I mentioned football, mentioned phones. And one time I was macking on the girl who is I probably told this already in another episode, but the football coach's daughter. So she calls me, I call her, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know it was her dad's cell phone, and no one had cell phones at that time. It was his work phone. So she'd been calling me off the work phone this entire time. So all of a sudden she goes, hey, I got to go. Click. And I was like, that was weird. Let's hit the redial button because we had those. Hit the redial button. And then, oh, shit, it's my football coach. Click. She calls back, don't let me call you. Don't call me.
Oh.
Which also, I don't know if anyone's going to mention it, but we didn't always have caller ID back in the day. So you were taking a gamble. You didn't know who was calling, who was going to be on the other end. You just answered. And then sometimes you're like, shit, it's this person. You're like, Mom. You're like, no, I called to talk to you. Damn,
man, Judy, why'd you call me? Oh,
you're like, how are you doing? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Oh, hey, my mom's calling me.
I think it's interesting to think about, like, obviously, like, we have iPhones and we have Androids. And so, like, if you think of it from like a Star Wars type of vibe, like CP3O was like their droid, and it's just interesting to think, like, you always have, like, nowadays with a cell phone, you always have like a buddy there with you. Like, honestly, this is like a supercomputer in your hands that can take you, do anything. You can grow a business. You can connect to anyone all over the entire world through it. Like, it is honestly, like, which way do you look at it? Do you look at it as like, is that comforting? Because now I have all of this, like, ability to not be alone. Or does it end up being a detriment because you have this ability to connect and you have nothing to connect to? Or you have nothing that you actually want to utilize it for. And so now it feels like a burden. Like I'm dragging along this, like, chain of just this big amount of burden behind me. And it's like, which way do I look at it? Do I look at it as this is a positive, or do I look at it as a negative? And I say you can go any way with it. But I definitely feel like things were a little bit more connected back then. And it felt more authentic, where nowadays it feels a little less authentic at times. It feels like, well, this is just what I do. And this is just how I act. And this is what everybody does, so this is what I do. When you were growing up, like, how often did you feel like, oh, well, this is what everybody does, but this seems kind of stupid. Why does everybody do this? Like, there were times when it doesn't matter what way you wanted to take it. There were times when you sat there and went, is this really what everybody's doing? I mean, I guess I'll do it if everybody else is doing it. But you definitely questioned those things. And now I feel like it's like that questioning or that making decisions is kind of like strung away a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought about when you brought up too the cell phone usage and being in the moment too. I got to go to a couple concerts before cell phones got big, and how much of a different experience that was. And now people get pissed when they have like the yonder bags where you have to go and you have to lock your phone up for like some shows. If you go see a comedian or some concerts, there's just one at the arena where you have to lock your phone up. There's no pictures, there's no phones, there's no, hey, pull out your phone and put a light on. Like, there's nothing. It's you watch the show, and people hate it, which I find hilarious. Like, I will take a couple pictures at a concert just for me. Like, okay, boom, 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 done. And that's it. Because in a world where there are so many videos, like, or going to like a football game or something, or someone wants to catch, like, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you. But for me, like, high quality 4K video is more accessible for everything. Like that O'Neal Cruz home run you got on your phone and the shittiest quality that the guy next to you bumped your shoulder while you're filming it, you could go watch it on YouTube when you get home. Or like concerts, like you paid all this money, you spent all this time looking forward to this, and then you sat there with your phone in front of your face filming all of it. It never took a time to experience that concert through your own eyes. And then you're never going to watch the videos either because they're dog shit. And just like instances like that of the present moment aspect, or like, yeah, I know what ballpark food the San Diego Padres have this year that's brand new. That hot dog they have is crazy, but I don't go to San Diego, nor do I eat food at baseball games typically. So why the fuck do I know that? But I'm not sure where my cousin's going to college. It just, and that's where like the authenticity comes in, of like, it becomes frustrating because we're more connected with the world than we've ever been before. But on the other side, you aren't prioritizing the things that actually mean the most to you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, number 2, when did you get a cell phone, and how many people had one before you? For me, dog, I got to start this one out because I know you guys are around the same time. I didn't get a cell phone till I was like almost 17 years old. Mine was like, I had just got my license, and that's when I got a cell phone. And so like 17 years old, and I remember my sister got a cell phone at the same time I did. And I'm honestly going to say,
what's the age difference? Sorry.
3 years.
Okay, cool. Good.
So I think that I got a cell phone only because my parents wanted to know what was going on with my sister more than me. But I'm just joking about that. It was honestly probably because I was going to start driving and they wanted me to be able to call. And it really came out of necessity is what mine was. It was, honestly, we're going to get him a cell phone just so that he can call and we can make sure he's okay. Because my mom has a crazy job working for the county and like children, youth, and family and whatnot, and seen crazy things. So she is always on like the safety aspect of stuff, wanting to make sure that, her kids are taken care of and are being, like she's got some kind of connection to them to make sure that everything's all right. But yeah, I remember being so effing chapped because my sister got a cell phone, and my sister, love you to death, girl, but you tormented the shit out of our parents with that cell phone. They were so mad, And honestly, I almost got myself in some pretty big trouble because of her cell phone and her flirting and talking to boys and stuff. I ended up because some kid was saying some things about my sister, which I don't need to share that. I mean, maybe that's the for the subscribers only offline type of stuff,
Ooh, okay.
And but I remember it was my senior year, and there were some kids saying that he had stuff on my sister and whatnot. We were in the same gym class, but if you guys recall, there were multiple different electives that you could take, and so when you're a senior, you don't take swimming anymore. But freshmen take swimming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, I went in the swimming locker room, grabbed this kid by the neck and picked him up off his feet and was like, you don't ever say any of that ever again. Whoa. Whatever you have, I don't give a shit. And like, kid pissed himself. And
nice.
Got him.
And he went to go. Yeah, I think he had to go change his pants because he went to try to go home that day. And I found out like my mom was pissed at me because this kid, his dad was like one of the biggest lawyers in Bethel Park. Like he was a big time lawyer. And she's like, what the hell were you thinking? I was actually friends with his sister who was in my grade too. And she's like, thanks for fucking my brother up. But no, but anyway, like that's the kind of thing that started to happen. Like you could just out of like living in the moment and feeling like you need to protect someone that you love, like could alter your entire life going forward on just one instance because cell phones got involved and people said that they had something or this or that on like people who you care about. And you're like, what the F? But yeah, I remember being so chapped that my sister got a cell phone at the same time that I did. But for you, Brendan, when did you get a cell phone?
So mine also, I can't say it came out of my parents' necessity, but I felt like I needed and wanted it. And my brother, this company, I feel like they're not even a cell phone company anymore. They might do other stuff. But if you remember Virgin Mobile.
Oh.
Virgin Mobile, a lot of people buy and it was pay as you go. So for the young listeners, pay as you go is exactly what it sounds like. It's pretty much a burner phone. So for us, there's certain ways you had to use it in order to maximize the use for it. One, a minute was $1. So if you wanted 20 minutes, you needed to spend $20.
Holy shit.
So I think I got mine at 13. This is grass cutting years. So you had to be very selective. You had to earn your minutes more or less, which is hilarious. It's like that movie In Time. But you had to earn the minutes. And I feel like a text was also $1. So it wasn't even worth texting.
That's crazy.
It later became a penny. I remember they advertised as a penny and it was like, oh, these Lincolns, like you could text this way. And they came out with a new texting thing, like the Sidekick. But I remember it was a glorified pager. You don't really call off of it. You just let someone else call you and then you call them back. So someone would call you to try to get a hold of you. The service was also terrible. That camp I talked about, it was almost non-existent up at the camp. Like you had to like walk to different areas and then you could go find a signal. But you more or less, for my parents, they would call me. And the only times I would call them is if it was an emergency, like off of that phone, because it's $1 a minute. That's expensive.
Yeah.
So you would just be able to keep however much you stocked up. And I can't remember, but you might have had to like put in money every month. Like you might have had to like put in money every single month. I can't remember. Or it might have just been, you have that line and you just add money as you need it. And maybe you get a gift of like $20 here. Here you go. Here's $20 to add on to there for Easter or something or Christmas. But yeah.
So how did you Mac in 20 minutes? That's my question.
Instant messenger. You had to move it to instant messenger or a landline. For that, it was more so when you go out. If you're like, as a teenager, if you're not where you're supposed to be, like you're talking about, your parents going to call you and be like, where the fuck are you? But you don't answer. You just like watch it. And then you call them back, be like, hey, anybody got a cell phone like Verizon or something? And then you borrow someone else's, then call them back. And they might have another like plan, like you guys could relate to. They might have like 300 minutes for the month. And then you're like, okay, cool. Because I think even minutes were counted back then for like AT&T and Verizon.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to try to get somebody else's to call them back, see what's good, and then you're good. But I remember my second cell phone was where it's at. And I don't know how your cell phone works for you guys playing. I think you had AT&T also, right?
Not originally. I eventually did. I had Cricket first.
Okay. Well, you had, I think around the time you had the Sony Ericsson, I had the Sony Ericsson. And what I would do is if I was Macking, you can call after 9 o'clock.
Oh.
I think it was like unlimited calls after 9 o'clock during the week. And then it might have been like a free-for-all on weekends. But up until then, so I remember I actually called Angela and Laura back freshman year at 9 o'clock. I would call them. And then whenever I was older, I would be calling Becky and I would call her after 9 o'clock. So I'd wait. Those are the three people I specifically remember calling. But I would talk with them after 9 and I would make sure that, I'm only talking after 9 or on the weekends. Other than that, it's like as needed. You really just don't use it unless you need to. So, yeah, my cell phone, my brothers, they set the path. They did Virgin Mobile first, and I was like, okay, I gotta do that too. So
They set the standard.
Limited. Yeah, mine was limited. I was like, I have to be on the landline or I have to be like on IM because those are free. And then I even knew girls like Stacy from high school. I won't mention her last name, but she used I think IM 2-message cell phones because hers might have even been behind.
Yeah.
You were a frugal. You were frugal. You took the $20 and it was like 1 minute calls here and here.
Yep.
Instant messenger. Let's go. IAMA.
Click.
Let's go. Boom.
Honestly, you got to keep it under a minute and be like, I'm approaching a minute. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Oh, man. So I was 12, I think, probably.
Damn.
Yeah. I didn't even make it to high school before I got a cell phone. I remember getting a Cricket slider phone and taking it to Joe's Crab Shack that night for dinner.
Dropped it in the crab boil.
Dropped it in the crab boil. I was a big Joe's Crab Shack guy for a little bit. I don't know what it was that I liked so much about Joe's Crab Shack in retrospect, but it was good. It was back when it was down in Station Square. But I remember getting the phone and for some reason just lost interest in calling people once I got a cell phone. I feel like once I got my own phone, I was like all the stuff I used to do, like calling friends and whatnot. And I think it was right around high school too, so it turned to be a little different. Those things, I think social media was getting bigger then, like Facebook was around by high school and you could always message people there or whatnot. And I do believe the reason why I got a phone so early would be specifically because my dad's interest in knowing where I was at all times. my
Mr.
dad.
Low Jack.
Yeah, my dad. Yeah. So my dad would probably nowadays admit, but I knew a lot more than he did about. I guess I knew a lot more about what he was doing than he realized I did. I'd always get like the text message that says, "Oh, your phone is being tracked by 412 blah 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 blah. If you have any concerns, please contact AT&T." And I'm like, I'm calling fucking AT&T tomorrow, bro. Like, 13-year-old me, I'm sick of this dude knowing where I am all the time. But I think the buffer there was he wasn't really stoked on communicating with my mom directly at that point. So I naturally became the middleman between my dad and mom. And having that phone where he could contact me or even check my location, like way back before I guess it's kind of casual now to have the share my location on the iPhone, or you think of the insane people. I'm sorry, if you're one of the people out there and you're pushing 30 and you have your Snapchat location always accessible through it's like, I understand you only add people you know, but I don't need to know where you are. Okay, I don't have no interest in that. So I find that kind of concerning. People are so much more open. Where like when I was 13 and my dad just wanted to keep a tab on me because he knew the shit he got into when he was 13, and he was like, "I'll let you go, and I'll make that trade every day." My dad let me go, hang out with my friends, do the things I want to do, but he wanted to know where I was, and that's okay. For the people nowadays that are like out there saying, "Oh, like I can just click on Snapchat now and tell you where 5 people are," I don't need to know that. Why would you want people to know that? So. I guess that was the main buffer. Was I definitely had a phone early on. It wasn't for me at all. It was definitely for my dad to monitor everything I got into, and from there it got tough because I feel like you were talking about when you got a phone based off when you started driving, and I feel like that's the natural timing for that. Anything before that seems pretty unnecessary then and now.
Did you ever leave your phone in like a bush outside of a place to where you were allowed to be at?
No. I feel like you know what? Actually, I may have left my phone home once or twice when I knew I was going somewhere I shouldn't have, and that never ended well. My dad, dude, he has freaking radar for that. I was over at Phil's house one time, and I may have told this story too, but Cliff Notes version. I went to my buddy's house in like 7th or 8th grade. Didn't tell my dad. I was at my mom's. I was supposed to tell my dad where I'm going. Fair. Went to Phil's house, hanging out. Just, I'm not going to tell my dad. I'm just going to Phil's dad pick me up and say, "Oh, yeah, it's all good." Get over to Phil's house. We're like 20 minutes into hanging out. And Phil's dad comes down with the landline and goes, "Hey, your dad's on the phone." And I take the phone. My dad goes, "Hey, Derek, where are you?" And I go, "Oh, I'm just hanging out at mom's." And then I just sat there, and he just didn't say a word. And then it hit me that he called Phil's dad's landline, and I go, "Yeah, okay, I'm at Phil's house." "You motherfucker!" Yeah, like,
was it a corded phone or a cordless?
Anyway, I think it was a cordless. I think we were down in like
I was
the
gonna say
basement or
that's
something.
easy mistake on a cordless.
Yeah, but man, I knew I wasn't that dumb. So like, it was just one of those things where it goes, got me.
He's still trying. I'm at mom's.
Yeah, man, that did not fly at all. So I think the reasoning for the phone early on was more of a parents were divorced, a lot of time moving back and forth. My dad wanted to stay in touch with me. It was nice. Like, it felt like I had independence. Like, unfortunately, it was convenient for me to be treated like an adult at that point. And then, sometimes it turns into like, oh, when it's convenient, you're an adult. When it's not convenient, you're a child. And it's like trying to buffer that is tough as a kid. But I did feel like that kind of gave me some independence early on, and probably led me into getting into trouble as well.
Derek, are you lying or just stupid? You are on the way.
I don't know, Dad. You are my father. I am you. So what am I? Because I'm not sure yet.
You also perfectly described Vygotsky's hurried child syndrome.
What's that?
Treated like a child, but expected to act like an adult.
Oh, yeah.
And then you rebel when you get older.
Yeah. That's that is tough. It's definitely one of those things where, when it's convenient for you to be leaned on as an adult, then no problem. But when, it's something where like you're trying to grow or better yourself, or like you may feel like, oh, you're just a child. Like that shit's hard to kind of dictate when you're going through so many things. And I guess patience and understanding in that time point would have been nice, but I don't think it was a big deal. I think with like having the phone again, the independence was really nice, but it was in the best interest, given that I'm pretty sure my dad was aware of the shit that he got into at his age. So being able to allow me to have, a childhood or teenage years doing the things that most kids do, but also be able to kind of keep an eye on me from a distance, then it pissed me off. Now I kind of get it.
Yeah. I feel like I got more freedom because of the cell phone and being able to then be able to take the car and drive and whatnot. But then I think back to being like 13, 14 years old and being all the way like three neighborhoods or townships over, like in Peters Township, like way deep on the Montour Trail, probably 20 or 30 miles away from my house. And like my mom not stressing over that because she didn't really know that was happening versus like you have a car and now you can really go places fast. And it's like, I need to know where you're at, where you're going type of thing. So I thought I was getting more freedom, but did I actually have more freedom? Or was it just because I was connected that I felt like it was like, oh, I can do this because I can take a car now. I'm not sweating bullets when I get somewhere. I can actually talk to a girl and not look like a sweaty mess, which that leads me into the next question of, are there ways that you benefited from cell phones over the years that you felt like wouldn't have been as good your life without them? And see, that's funny is we're doing the benefited question and the negative ways that a cell phone affected you. And my answer for both of them is like, I have one piece that is the same, and it was talking to girls. Like it gave me the opportunity to talk to girls outside of school, which was cool. Great. Like, not just always having to feel like everybody's watching you when you're trying to communicate with somebody, or you're in class, or you're walking through the halls and now you got to talk to her and her friend because you're walking to a class versus like, now I can just talk one-on-one with you. But it also was negative as all hell for me because I wore my heart on my sleeve and got just blasted by girls and just, oh man, because I got made fun of so much by guys that would be like, yo, what are you like a hopeless romantic? Like I'm the kid who made a mix CD for like a girl back in the day, you know? And like, I remember getting made fun of by a kid who lived in her neighborhood. And he was like, what are you, some kind of loser making a mix CD with a bunch of John Mayer on it? And you're like, no. Your body is one. I put a lot of Bob Marley on that bad boy. It was hilarious, man. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, the ways that I benefited was definitely being able to do things on like a Saturday that weren't just like riding your bike. Like I can't strap a golf club, like a golf bag to my back and ride 15, 20 miles on my bike and be comfortable. Like being able to go play golf with your homies on a Saturday was the shit, being able to go and actually like communicate with friends while you were out working for your dad, and then like be able to say like, oh, yo, what are we doing this evening? Like that was cool, of being able to find out where the bonfire was that night. Those were the benefits for me versus like the negatives were just, this kid's a dweeb. He's trying way too hard to get these girls, Yeah. And so, but for you, Brandon, like positive ways that a cell phone affected you.
Number one, you're not going to have the busy signal whenever someone calls. You remember that?
Yeah.
You call. Actually, that could sell you out pretty good if, like, say we're thinking about just girls in general. Be like, all right, if you're trying to Mac back in the day and it's like 7 o'clock and you maybe got, no pun intended, like 2 girls on the line. And you're like, oh,
this fucking guy.
I talked. I'm not saying I did.
You're
did
implying
at one point.
you did. It's the implications.
But you could have 2 people you're talking to, and they're like, I know he's going to be home at 7. His brothers aren't going to be home. Okay, so his line should be open. Calls at 7. Phone line's tied up from 7 to 8. You're like, were you home earlier? No, I was not home. Really? So,
you mean that period specifically between 7 and 8 o'clock? No, I was not.
Like, you weren't home? I thought you were going to be home. No, I went down to my grandma's house and, I had to go, help them out at the house. Oh, okay.
My mom was talking to Aunt Linda that whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's like obviously a number one. Caller ID. I love the joke. Someone's like, "Huh, I wonder why they didn't answer." Oh, I know. Oh, what's that? Caller ID. Like, still, I love getting people that. But like caller ID is a huge improvement. I mean, being able to take a call, being able to call someone back. If you didn't have, people now might not know that voicemail was not always a thing, and not everyone had it. So if you called, they didn't answer, and they didn't have a voicemail set up, like what's the device that they actually called it? I forget. If you didn't have a cordless phone, they had a device. It was answering machine.
Yeah.
You had to have an answering machine in order to take these messages. And then you could call up your answering machine, and you'll even see some old movies and TV shows. Friends is a good example. In Friends, I think she calls and accidentally reprograms someone's answering machine for like her anxious voicemail. So now everyone who calls this guy, and he's a doctor, Richard, if you watch Friends, everybody calls Richard is going to hear her anxiety riddled voicemail. So like, I think the number one is just being able to be 100% like connected if things change. Like that's huge. I feel real bad for people like who lived, like I don't feel bad that they were able to have like peace of mind at different points, but I do feel bad that certain people plans changed and you're already on your way. Then basically if it's like a half-hour drive, you're fucked until like you get there, and then you get to a landline, and then you call, be like, "Hey man, where are you?" Be like, "I was in a car accident." It was like, "Really?" Because like it took me a half hour to get here, and I really didn't have the time to be here, but I'm here now. It's like, "Well, sorry, I got to cancel." It's like, fuck. I got to drive a half hour back, make new plans. I have to wait to get to a cell phone if I want to start making plans on the ride home. I'm like, shit. Now I got to wait till I get home. Then I can make plans. As long as the other person is also home, then they can answer. If I got to reestablish plans and they're not home, then we can't make plans.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I didn't think about like you're driving somewhere and then you get there and you're like, that was something that I had was like, you never got the 5 minutes away text or on my way. You both said you were going to go there at 7 o'clock, and you're sitting there and it's 7 o'clock and 7:15 rolls around, 7:30, 7:45. I've been sitting here for 45 minutes. Where the hell is this motherfucker? Like, I mean, that still happens to this day, even with the ease of access, you know? And now I feel like there's a lot of times whenever you send a message or you get a message from someone and you're like, I'm on my way. And it's like, you still haven't left for your house for another 15 minutes. And they're like, where you at? And you're like, 15 minutes away. And you're like, you only live 10 minutes away.
I've never done that ever.
I've definitely done that before.
I've never done that to Derek. I'm on my way. You live 5 minutes.
Yeah, dude. You sent me that same message 3 times in the last 30 minutes. I know how long it takes you to get here. Yeah, so for me, just thinking about ways that we'll open the veil right now. Yeah, I love my cell phone. I've been quoted in saying many things regarding my interest in my cell phone, so much so that I maybe even enjoy my cell phone more than interacting with the people I love. I don't know. I mean, it's open for interpretation depending on how you look at it.
It's your CP3O.
Yeah.
You just love your droid.
It's okay.
What's wrong with that?
I think that's okay. Look, man, it's here to help, right? I think that's.
Would you name it?
What? I don't name my brand. That's
Bob.
It's Bob. That is mean to bring up. So the thought process here would be like, I do think cell phones in the way. What, man? Unbelievable.
I'm thinking of Dayton right now. Or not Dayton, Columbus.
Yeah.
That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, my cell phone broke when we went to go see our buddy for his birthday, and I was in an RV with all my best friends in the world, having the greatest time, and my cell phone broke, and may or may not have been loosely quoted saying that I'm with all the best people in my life, I'm having the best time, but my cell phone's broke, so I just kind of went off myself. Yeah, so.
You know, there's a million people out there like, yeah, same.
But like, how would I know if we could get Columbus crew tickets that night if I didn't have my phone? I was trying to get they weren't in Columbus that day, by the way. I was trying so hard to get us tickets. They weren't even in Columbus that night. But
Damn.
But that's where I think that I have enjoyed having a phone the most as I've gotten older. Would be the way it can complement my personal life and not so much intrude on it. Just like the accessibility to information too. Like when I was in St. Augustine, when we went on vacation and like looking for, it's like, oh man, okay, like what do you want to do? And she's like, I just want to have a Guinness. That sounds great. Let's go have a beer. Okay, cool. Where's the 4 Irish pubs? I don't know where they are. Cool. This one looks like the best. Okay, go. Let's go. And it was great. Perfect. Done. Didn't have to ask locals. Didn't have to pop into a shop. Right in. Found a great bar in walking distance. Found the best chicken wings of my life in Daytona that were 2 minutes away just by having my phone. And, you know, you couldn't do that. You'd have to ask around. And maybe that was a little more, interpersonal. Like you were able to like go and ask for recommendations, and we've lost that for sure. But I think that, natural PI skills my dad has laid upon me is very good for me to kind of, investigate a certain situation. Like, if I didn't have my cell phone, then like I wouldn't know who was the backup quarterback for the Steelers in 2006. I wouldn't know how long it takes to ride a bike to Florida from Pittsburgh, and I wouldn't know what days the wing special at Sidelines are. And the answers are Charlie Batch 4 days straight and on Wednesdays and Sunday. Like, how did you not know that? Like, and if I didn't have my phone, I wouldn't know that. So I think having that type of like access to information does help in certain situations. Now, again, like I mentioned before, do I really need to know what ballpark food is at a stadium on the West Coast that I'm never going to make it out to? Probably not. That's not helping anybody very much. So outside of that, the idea of like connection too, I think is cool. Like Brandon's baby shower is coming up. We have our annual fantasy football draft. Like I love being that type of person to kind of connect the dots with people and like using the cell phone as means to bring people together. But I think the biggest focal point for me is to not get too off the deep end, but it is when I can use my cell phone to complement my real life experiences is when I find it to be the most beneficial.
Well, I think of like, for instance, you were just talking about finding the best Guinness, like Irish pub. Okay, so I walk around right now. I'm down in St. Augustine, and I go up to one person, and they're like, you gotta go to McMurphy's.
Yeah.
And you go to McMurphy's, and it sucks. And it's because that person has like a childhood connection to that.
Right.
Versus now, like that is definitely a benefit of like Google reviews and Yelp reviews and all that type of stuff where you can see like, all right, this place has over 4 stars and 1,000 reviews. All right, it's going to be solid.
Yeah.
Versus like this place has literally 3,000 reviews and it's got 2.5 stars. That place is going to suck.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Respectfully.
crowdsourcing the information in a place where I don't get to go often, where my time is valuable. I don't want to make the wrong decision. I want to go somewhere that's worth my time and effort, and that's perfectly fine. I see no issue with that. Or if I'm at work and there's concert tickets on sale and I don't have access to a computer because I don't want to use my work computer and I want to go, okay, cool, like I'm going through and this and that, and I buy the tickets and I'm really excited to go to a show. That's amazing. Sitting there and again, the negatives are everything we ever we'll get into, which would be like the doom scrolling, the bullshit that comes into that kind of play. But I think that as long as we're looking to complement our personal life and not so much let it impede on taking away from experiences, that's where it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly beneficial, but it's about intentional use.
Well, I think because how nice would it be, to live in the moment at a time, find somebody, meet somebody that you're on vacation and you end up meeting somebody. Like I think of my family's trip down to Barbados and like my dad being in the postal service and becoming friends with the mailman and like getting an experience like we did of being able to literally that guy's best friend is a fisherman and they caught fly fish. They literally drive the boat in at sunset right onto the beach, start a fire and just cook fish and cook breadfruit. And it's just a gathering and all that type of stuff. Like I would not have been able to search, are there any people who cook fish on a beach at sunset? I'm not able to, like, that is an interaction where, like, if I was too focused on being on my phone or trying to find those perfect things to do that night, I would miss that opportunity versus, like, you meet someone on vacation or you meet someone in some different place and you get them taking you on that journey versus them saying, oh, you should go to McMurphy's, and versus them coming to McMurphy's with you and taking you on that nostalgic ride of why that place rocks for them and them making it an experience versus them just saying you should go there, and then you go there and you don't get any of the nuances. Like you don't get the the waitress that literally knows this guy for the last 30 years who's going to treat you guys with another level because Timmy just came with you and Timmy's the absolute G that everybody loves in that place. There's so much difference to that. And I think I love that, like, if it complements your life, then why the hell would you look at it in any negative way?
Yeah, I could still go to the pub and make friends with the guy next to me or have a conversation or whatever. Like there is still instances to still live in the present moment and experience real life situations. You're just looking to get the most out of a vacation or find a cool dinner spot that you want to take your girlfriend to that you wouldn't otherwise know about or whatever. So those are cool instances. I think if we want to flip over to the negative side of, different instances too, I just feel like it kind of gets back into it, not using it as a crutch. Like there's a lot of ways I think I've used having a phone as a crutch. I think I have broken up with 3 dating type relationships via text message in the past.
Whoa, this guy. He's a text gone.
Yeah.
Text and gone.
Look, dude, here's the thing is they wouldn't have let me break up with him if I did it in person. So that's the thing. Is like I was dating, that's why it's a dating situation. It's I'm seeing this person. It's something's not connecting. If I did this in person, I do feel really shitty about that. Like it does remove you from interpersonal situations that like you got yourself into this situation. You can get yourself out of it. It was no issue when you're over there and everything was fine, hanging out or going out to dinner or something. But when push came to shove or you just saw, hey, okay, maybe this isn't going the route I wanted it to, probably best to just deal with that like a man and not so much over a text message and then just decide to, leave them be after the fact. So I do think the dehumanization of, even breaking off a relationship, I wouldn't call it a relationship, like something like that, or just the idea of like being able to ghost people you don't want to talk to, or the avoidance of certain situations that we just didn't have to deal with in the past. I do feel like that was a lot of things that came to mind. I think just mood and focus is another thing, like not being able to deeply focus on things. Like we will sit down to do podcast work and like for recording, I always put on Do Not Disturb. I love that. That's great. Do Not Disturb is terrific. And I'll do that pretty often nowadays, especially in like the evenings or whatnot. But it's because these things are programmed to get your attention. You need to sit there and actively avoid the notifications of this and that, the dire situations that it makes it feel like that I brought up earlier of like, if I don't check this right now, like what did I miss? Like the fear of missing out type situation that's just like wired into us now is so tough where, I do think that you want to remove yourself from the scrolling on social media and the TikToks and all that. If it's like, the 4-hour screen time window, I think I brought up to you yesterday when we were chatting about this was like, if I can sit here and say, I don't have time for working out or editing clips or reading the book that I've had sitting on my bedside table for 3 weeks, that's all fine and dandy. But if you can also go on your screen time and see that you've looked at your phone for 4.5 to 5 hours throughout that day, then you're just lying to yourself. And that becomes tough to kind of differentiate because then you go, okay, that's great, but how much bandwidth do I actually have as a human being? Like I did just work all day. I did talk to a lot of people. I did come home and cook dinner, and like I am a bit tired today, and I worked out yesterday. So like, is it really a big deal if I sit here and stare at my phone a little bit? Like what else am I going to do? And the answer is probably something still more constructive, honestly. Like even just watching a movie is probably, I venture to say 100 times more constructive than staring at your phone and watching 10-second clips of bullshit. Because how much are you really retaining of that information? And that becomes tough. So I do think it does affect like mood and one thing of like the comparison to other people, the yada, yada, yada. It's all social media focused, which is crazy. It's not about like the phone features. It's a phone. You're supposed to be able to call and text, maybe check the weather. That's cool. Like, but it's not supposed to be like what it is now, which is interconnectivity to the entire world. And that becomes tough too. And I think it's nice to like, kind of venture back into the world of making sure that you're adding the human element into it, making sure you're not, when we're watching a movie, staring at your phone. Like there's nothing. I just did it over Ryan's. I had to stop myself. It was over Ryan's. We're like watching like Family Guy or something stupid. We were playing pool, and then we sat down for a minute, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? Why? What's the point of this? So like that need for attention your phone has, it's a needy little bitch, you know. And sometimes you got to set a boundary with it. So I think that it's interesting to see, because like even back in like my older siblings days, like they never had an issue maintaining friendships. They always had plans, they always went out and did something, it always worked out. My sister met her husband, my brother was always out hanging with friends. Like they never had an issue without cell phones. So trying to remove the dire need to always have the phone with me because you feel like you're going to miss out on something, or you just whatever that has been programmed into us to look at it's something that I've become more aware of recently, and it does suck away a lot of the life energy that you have without realizing it, and kind of takes you away from all the different goals that you may set that may not seem like they're affected by the usage of your phone. But again, when you say you don't have time to do shit, but you look down and see, oh shit, I was on my phone for 4 hours a day, then yeah, you are just lying to yourself.
Can either of you guys admit to the fact that you've gotten opportunity to do something and been like, I'm not going to respond to them just yet because I'm going to wait and see if someone else is going to hit me up with a better offer?
Yeah. Or even like the response of like, if someone called you, or you had that I had to go cut off the dating that I was, or the person I was dating or something, like you were taking such an easy way out, where even writing that text message, like you're wordsmithing the shit out of that. You're formulating a perfect response. Like you're removing the emotion from it almost. Like you're becoming very methodical in your response, where it's almost not you. You probably read it 3 or 4 times. It's like sending an email at work. You're just like, okay, I'm going to write this up. I'm going to read through it. All right, got to cross this off, cross that. But if you had a genuine conversation with that person, it'd probably come off differently.
Oh, how many times was I sitting there like a little schoolgirl with my legs kicking on the bed, just like waiting for a response? Like, am I going to get a text back? I just sent it. How quick are they going to respond to me? Okay, wait, they took 15 minutes. Should I take 16 minutes to respond right now? Or do I do it right away? Does texting them back right away show that I really care? That shit, like,
Yep.
I wish that never happened in my life, to be honest with you. Sitting there psychologically trying to play the game of like, I got to show that I'm interested, but show that I'm not too interested, like I'm some kind of psycho, like I'm trying to wear their skin. No, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like that is
Meanwhile, they could just be like at a family dinner table and they can't text back.
Yeah.
Like no phones at the table. Like,
or working.
Yeah.
Working, and like that was not a thing where like nowadays you go into a place, and I literally have gone into multiple different places before where like the person is supposed to start waiting on me, or like a cashier or something, and they're sending a message and they're like, just 1 second, please. And you're like, wow, I can't imagine if I said just 1 second, please, like back in the day. Like, could you imagine?
Even on the phone in front of you, be like, hold on, I got someone in front of me. And then that's it.
Yeah, especially in a road where like I won't go up to a cashier if I'm on the phone. Like I'll hang up. I try to give them, and it is what it is. Like if I go down the north side Giant Eagle, man, if they're not on their phone, I feel like there's an issue. Like they're bored down there. But I get it, and in the sense of people are just trying to make the best of their day or whatever it might be. But when you're dealing with people like head on, for me when I meet with people, like I can't. It feels so weird when I pull out my phone.
I was a big hoagie guy, so I loved going to Subway, loved going to Jersey Mike's and those places. And I remember how all of those places used to have signs that said, "We will not serve you if you're on your cell phone."
Yeah.
Nice.
I remember those signs being up and out.
Yeah.
But yeah, negative things for me were just like the psychological warfare that I played on myself, trying to like, did I text that person back quick enough? Did I text them back too fast? Like that was just a miserable experience. And I think that social media for me has done wonders, but has also done massive detriment. Like I think about the fact of like my parents have really struggled to like get to where they're at. And like my dad is loved the dude to death, but like he's always not wanted to like take his own personal business to the next level because he just doesn't want to deal with like learning all of that. I don't know. I shouldn't say that I know exactly what it was, but he does not like the government and does not want to deal with those guys. So like he never really wanted to take his business to the next level. So I didn't really have someone in my life who like showed me the path of being able to create a business and do all that type of stuff. I got that from social media. I got that from seeing all that on social media, learning it through YouTube and all that different stuff. That's not something I got in my real life. So huge positive, huge negative, watching people on Instagram who are traveling all over the world. And you're like, what the fuck am I doing here at this job today when I could be in Tanzania right now doing this shit? Like that looks amazing. And just sitting there going, why am I not farther in my life? Why am I not at that point too? I'm so over this shit, you know? That was the massive negative for me. But for you, Brando, what are the negatives?
I would have to put out an honorable mention for what you mentioned about like teaching yourself, because I think about it later in another episode. We'll talk about like story and my love for story. But like, I remember machining and I was allowed to have like one earbud in. And I learned so much more about story and story structure and how to illustrate than I did in the classes I took as a minor, like for writing. I had a minor in writing. All I remember about that mainly is make me care. That's like the number one for writing that I took away from my education. But as far as story structure, I have a million things that I remember from just listening to YouTube videos. So I would say it's like hugely beneficial. That stuff I just don't have access to, and it would have been really expensive to buy all the textbooks and time consuming to learn all that stuff. Meanwhile, they just give me like a watered down version of here's the basics. But negative way, man, companies, they get so much more out of you having a cell phone. Like my company does, at least. And I love my company. But like, you guys know I'm someone who struggles with attention difficulties, and I'm introverted. So whenever I have a cell phone that people can access me, I really don't really respond after 10 o'clock, but I have multiple times this year, and it's only July. But people are always reaching out to me, trying to find out information, trying to find out. And the downside is I take my job pretty seriously and try to be very good at it. So people try to access me all the time. And I told somebody yesterday how many accessible communications I have. They're like, so how many ways can someone get a hold of you? I'm like, one, the person I'm looking at, I'm like, you could reach me on my watch with my walkie-talkie. You could reach me on my cell phone, on my personal cell phone. You could reach me on my work phone. You could reach me on my radio. You could reach me on my other radio. You could reach me via email, or you could reach me by the landline inside the office. And then they're like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, my co-manager, he carries an extra phone because he tries to keep his work phone separate from the forwarded calls from the helplines. Jeez. So I'm like, so if you count him, that's 3 cell phones and 2 radios, an email. Actually, he has another email because most of the emails come through, all of the main ones come through my email, which I give him access to, but he also has his own email. So like, we're just loaded with sources of communication. So we're way too accessible. So if they ever say like, you know, you guys aren't accessible enough, nonsense. Nonsense. But I think that's one of the big things is like, it doesn't really give you a whole lot of opportunity to like drain the cortisol and let yourself get back to baseline because you're just way too connected. Like granted, I'd rather have cell phones than not have them, but the ability to access, like, for me, Instagram, I just deleted it last night. I was taking notes on video games, and I was like, Brandon, like, you're not on them, but, like, this thing you have that's so accessible, it's becoming a coping mechanism. And then when I thought about that, I deleted it. I was like, all right, I'm deleting you for a while. You can come back in, like, a week. But for right now, like, whenever, like, my introverted self gets overstimulated and I need to set up like myself back to baseline, my default started to become, okay, you need like 2 minutes just to collect yourself. Here's Instagram. And I was like, Brandon, why did you do that? Like, your coping mechanism, that's way better and fancy word, sublimates you, like sublimation's a defense mechanism from Freud. You do something that's good for you when you're like stressed out. So for me, my coping mechanism is take all of the scrap paper, all the scratch paper that has all of your thoughts that are disorganized, and put it on one sheet that is organized. And then you have clarity, and then you can think. What did I do instead? Do I remember any of those videos? One. I remember one video, and it's only because I took notes on it last night. But so like cell phones for me, I would say I'm glad they're there, but they are a burden in some ways.
Yeah, I would agree with that, man. I think of just the beauty of what you said of using it to benefit you, but then you look at like, okay, I'm going to do a little Venn diagram of the positives and the negatives and figure out what overlaps. And you're like, fudge, I have like 5 positives and 15 negatives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there any that cross over? Like,
Yeah.
what are actually am I getting out of this that's going to be more beneficial than detrimental to me?
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's hard sometimes to like put that into like really like I love the taking all your different scratch paper and organizing it into like a clean sheet of paper and more precise and clean thoughts for yourself. And you sit there and you go, all right, I'm going to think about all the ways that this has benefited me or negative me. Shit.
Yeah.
This list ain't looking too hot right now.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I will say, going into the next question of, do you feel that deep connection in your life has actually suffered from the ease of access or become stronger? My answer to this was it depends on the relationship. And it also depends on the type of person that you're talking to. Because nowadays with technology, like everything is accessible and anything you do on the internet is locked away and it is there forever. It doesn't matter if you deleted it off of Facebook. The metadata has already been created and it is stored somewhere. So text messaging, that's all stored in some location and place. So do you have a friend or an acquaintance or a relationship with someone where they're like, yo, I know about the Akashic records. So like shit's already stored everywhere. Energy is what everything is. So it don't freaking matter if they know shit about me. They know how many times I've done what I've done. Versus the friend who's like, they are going to access all my data. I cannot talk to you in any way, shape, or form. And it is all cryptic text messages right now. And I joke, but honestly, like, do you have the friend who like can send a book back to you? Or do you have the friend who is like, oh man, that sounds really rough. And they don't have that deep connection with you. And like, honestly, like who wants to sit there and write out a freaking book to somebody and then have them write a book back to you? And we've now I could have read the entire Harry Potter series in the amount of time that we just sent these text messages back to each other versus that person who's worried about, anything that they say being utilized against them. And I joked about that earlier of like, my text messages or whatever being utilized against me back in high school and whatnot. And not like someone was like, I know what you said, but versus like, you really like what's her name, don't you?
That paper trail's tough, dude.
Yes, the paper trail.
Yeah.
And so like, that's where I said like, this all depends on the relationship, because now that like my buddy moves to, the other side of the United States from me, and that has been my best friend for so long. And we've had such deep communication, and anytime we're together, it's just deep talk. But now we got 14, 15 states in between us, and we're in 3 different time zones away from each other. And finding that time to overlap my time and his time to talk whenever it's not either me going to bed or him just waking up or vice versa, or him at work and I'm now been off work for the last 3 hours and blah, blah, blah. That's hard. So like being able to still keep those connections through having a cell phone is amazing. But you have people who are just too worried about like, I'm cool with like, if we treat texting almost like email, where like, I write you something, and then if I don't get a response till the next day, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be these instantaneously like IM messages anymore for me when it comes down to texting. Honestly, I kind of like to treat like if I sent you a text like, "Hey, you available tomorrow to do this?" I mean, it would be nice to get a text message back that day
Yeah.
than rather like tomorrow and it's like 15 minutes before I was going to go do that. "Hey man, you still going to practice, man?"
Yeah.
Like that would be that's a different situation. That's where the beauty of texting comes in to play for me. But when it's like you share a big ass long message with each other and you know that it's through like, you know, encrypted, you know, text messaging, which is now beautiful. I don't care if you don't respond to me for a day or two, or you take your time to process what I said and then take the time to formulate your own response and send it back to me. That's cool. But like, it's still a paper trail that like can be accessed. So you got to have that person who's willing to be vulnerable and authentic with you when that can be like pulled out against them or utilized against them, or even with just the dirtiness of you dirty Facebook people where you just love to take all of our information and feed us ads based on what we just talked about. And
That's
it's
a
like,
bummer.
yeah, you know?
Yeah, that's the fear of missing out with the cell phone isn't I'm going to miss out on the birth of Brandon's child. It's I'm going to miss out on the thing some companies go to try to sell me. Like, if you think about what it boils down to, a cell phone is pretty much just a tool for companies to sell you shit. Like, that's all it comes down to. Everything else, like, if it's news, I'm probably, if it has anything to do with me, I'm going to hear about it eventually. And if it's buying something, well, I probably didn't need it anyway. And then everything else is like, the people who care about me are going to find a way to contact me if they need me outside of social media, cell phone usage, whatever it might be. Like, if it was just down a landline and something happened, like, you know, Brandon needing me or telling me, oh, his child was born or whatever it might be, find a way to get a hold of me. And then I guess I'll take a step back on the like formulating the response via text message, because I did write down texting for this, is thinking so much of like, okay, when we think about texting, like, it does become kind of like, there is a disconnect when I think about it, you know, in the sense of you're probably better off if it's a conversation that involves anything other than, are you coming over tomorrow? Or like, the only person I really answer immediately, like, would be you guys that has something to do with the podcast or plans we had within like the realm of 24 hours. Or if my girlfriend's text me like, hey, what are we doing for dinner? Are we working out or should I go do it myself? Blah, 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 blah. Like, that's the benefit of text message. But I do like your idea of treating it more like an email as well, because then it doesn't feel so dire. And that's my whole thing with this, is like, I don't want to feel like I have to respond to you immediately. Like, there's really no need for it, you know? But I do like the, as far as like maintaining deeper connections, like, I like the idea of like even using social media or text to still check in with someone, where like, I think of like John down on the well, like, there's 2 weeks. I'll see him when I see him, you know, like, I love that kid, but you know, when we catch up, it's always what's new, what's going on, how's your family, yada, yada, yada. But like, there is a little bit of like, hey, just thinking about you, man. I saw this funny meme, where did you see the Pirate game? And just like 2 or 3 text message response that helps maintain those deeper relationships, where it's probably not, you're not growing the relationship any further, but because you don't see that person as often, you're kind of maintaining it just through like little anecdotes of like, oh, this made me think of you, or something like that. And those are
like
cool.
growing a plant.
Yeah.
You can't just throw the plant out there and not maybe trim it up a little bit, not maybe water it when it's looking, you know, scraggly.
Yeah.
You're just growing those roots, man.
Yeah. So I felt like with the phone, like I have used it in a way to maintain most relationships, which has been really nice. Like in the sense of just checking in with like my dad, all of a sudden, oh, did you see this movie, or things like that, where it's not like long drawn out responses. I feel like I have done better with dictating those situations into like in person, or at least a phone call, dude. Like, if you're gonna write that whole mess, just please call me. Honestly, just talk to me, even if like you're not stoked on what you're spewing out to me. It might not be the most formulated. Like, I rather at least get the respect of a call as opposed to a longer text messages in some instances, depending on how deep that topic might be.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess, you know, having that in mind, and then realizing it is important to maintain those like select few people, and also setting up the barriers to not have to worry so much about, you know, playing a role for a larger group of people. Like, I know this isn't a social media episode, but it does have to do with your phone. So like, making sure that you're not like, I have like 600 people that follow my Instagram account, which is whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. It's like 600 people. I promise it's not a lot of people. I promise it's not a lot. But the thought process is for me is like, how many of those people do I actually interact with? Even in real life. If I really went through my followers right now, it would boil down to probably about 20 people. Really. Like outside maybe like coworkers. If it's just like friends and family or like, you know, people that I have like brushed shoulders with, I really only interact with 20 of those people. So like, what's the whole fucking show for? You know? And I've had people reach out to me like, oh man, like we hung out in college all the time, man. What have you been up to recently? And it's like, I don't have time for this, dude. Like, I'm sorry. I have to set up a barrier. So like, I think, you know, you can have like that elevator, like water cooler chat with people that maybe you haven't caught up with. And that's fine, but you're not maintaining deep relationships there and actually can come off like disingenuine to show you give a fuck. Where I think the cell phones can benefit in maintaining a relationship when it comes down to distance or like my girlfriend on day to day. Like I do like being able to like check in with her, ask her how her day is, you know, things like that. Those things do benefit me in the sense of maintaining a deep relationship, but the real legwork is when you're in person.
I do think and recall where like Facebook was looked at as like, how many friends did you have on Facebook?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Because like, well, are you connected to everybody in the grade that we're in?
Yeah,
Are
then
you
you realize-
connected to the older people?
And you get older, you're like, I don't want to be as connected. Please, I'm going to remove half of you soon. I promise. You know?
And here's something savage.
Yeah.
Trisha gets rid of people on their birthdays.
That's sick, dude. I fucking love that.
Today is
love
this
that.
person's birthday. And she's like, I haven't talked to you in 7 years. You're
Yep.
gone.
I love it. That's amazing. I respect the shit out of that.
I do respect
But it's
that.
true because like people, I had a conversation with Doe recently too of like people that like were a part of her life in the past, but maybe not serve her now. Like, what's the benefit in keeping those people around? Like, what do they like? There's no positive thoughts coming from when you view my story of me and my girlfriend happy on vacation. Like, you're not sitting there like, oh, I'm so happy for Derek. You know, look at him really enjoying it. I don't think that because when I see your story, I think the same thing. I go, oh. Remember when you were a bitch? Okay. You know, like that's it. Like that's not doing anything for me in the present moment.
Oh man, hilarious. For you, Brandon, do you think connection, communication, stronger or weaker?
Man, as we were talking, my brain was going like a million different directions, like outside of what I was thinking even. I'm like, I had an optimistic side and a cynical side. The optimistic side was like, well, my mother-in-law, we Snapchat each other. Like outside of that, we would not be communicating like as much, just like text messages here and there, but we send like funny stuff to each other. My sister-in-law, I send funny stuff on Instagram. And then like for you guys, if I think of you when I see something, I'll send something over. And particularly with like Gala, I don't see him all the time, but if I see something that I think he would love, I'm like, all right, I got to send him that. And then vice versa. Same with John. Don't see him all the time. Or Ryan, don't see him all the time, but I'll send him something and be like, hey, man, I thought this was hilarious. And I think you would also find it hilarious.
Yeah.
So I think like memes and Snapchat, they go a long way because like, you know, and even I used to have, before stories were a thing on Snapchat. If anyone doesn't have Snapchat, you know, whatever. I can't really tell you to go one way or the other. You can live with it or without it. But before stories were a thing, I used to have a select group of people who I would Snapchat every morning whenever I'd pull off my new calendar. So I'd Snapchat them every single morning, the new day. So like, I think it was great to stay connected. And I remember I signed up for Twitter and Snapchat at the same time, 2013. People were like, what are you living in a cave? And I'm like, I literally just got a smartphone. I don't. Oh no, I had a phone, a dumb phone, and I had an iPod Touch.
Oh, the iPod Touch move was crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the way to go. Like if somebody's, they still have a dumb phone, keep the dumb phone, use the iPod Touch. Most people around you have access to internet if you have a question.
Yeah.
Only downside is if you need maps, you're fucked.
Yeah.
But or get a TomTom. I don't know if kids nowadays probably won't know what a TomTom or a Magellan is, or MapQuest. I don't know MapQuest.
Yeah, go and print those directions out, baby boy.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Actually, the first on my way to Dave Silverman's house, we downloaded MapQuest and we're like, where the fuck is this place? It's right around the corner. But I don't know. I think it suffers. I think you know, that dopamine drip and having too much flood in at once. When you guys mention like the water cooler conversations, it drives me nuts whenever I want to have small talk with somebody and they just don't know how to do it. They're like, oh, yeah. Yeah. When can I get back to scrolling?
Yeah.
I'm like, great. Like, you know, I thought we were going to have a connection. Like, I'm here doing a job. My brother, he had a phrase he used to say. He said, you don't come to work to have fun, but you can have fun while you're at work. And I'm like, you know, it doesn't have to be this much pressure. Like, certainly we all experience in our jobs whenever everyone puts the pressure down on us and then we have to, like, you know, squeeze a diamond out the other side. But, like, people, like, for real, it's crazy.
Shit and diamonds.
Yeah, people,
Great.
they, like, push coal down and be like, oh, we need this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. And then that's why people are so stressed out. And then whenever they get a first second they can, bust out their phone because they want to escape. And be like, this person jumping off the waterfall in Tahiti looks like they're having a phenomenal time. I wish I was there. Or I just wish that, you know, there wasn't this much demand and there was more of the freedom for me to grow, develop, establish those human relationships. And then I'll throw the one guy under the bus. I asked him how his day went. I'm like, all right, man, there's like engines outside. I can't hear you. Can you repeat yourself? He's like, you don't care, blah, blah. And I'm like, I care. I just can't hear you. Just stop mumbling and be a person. But he's probably just waiting for me to leave so he could be back to his own little world. And I'm like, yeah, because that's why we were given mouths and ears, so we could go back to our own little worlds.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned like the Tahiti thing and like the escape. Like, man, I wish I was in Tahiti because, you know, people look negatively at that. Like, oh, you're just comparing your life to somebody else's. Like, that's not fair to you. But in reality, that's what most humans are longing for. Like, that's what we are more or less programmed to enjoy. Like, for someone to look at me and say like, oh, well, you know, you don't have a grasp of reality because you rather, you know, be in Tahiti than sitting in front of this desk generating revenue for the man while they pay you a sliver of what you actually bring in. Oh, my bad, dude. Oh, sorry, that bums me out. So, like, you know, there is something to say about, like, yeah, you shouldn't, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. You shouldn't be, like, comparing your life to other people. But is it really that bad if I'm sitting at work saying, man, I really wish that I could just travel for a living and go and experience life in a real fashion as opposed to just generating a barely enough money to get by to the point where, like, I can't even experience this shit anyway because I can't afford it? Like, there is a longing for like the human desire to go travel and see the world or interact with people or have fun. And unfortunately, like when most of our time is sucked up by generating revenue for the company that we work for, I don't think it's so bad that people compare themselves to other people on vacations because in all reality, that should be prioritized more than the jobs we have.
Yeah. It's the society we live in.
Yeah, it's
It's
bummer.
tough. It's tough because
bummer.
it's also it's a lot different now for us in our 30s versus our parents in our 30s.
Yeah.
You know, a 25 an hour job, like you're like, oh my God, you're making $25 an hour. You must be doing fantastic. And you're like, $25 an hour is a lot. That's like minimum wage now. You know,
And the expectations and output that you put for the input you receive is not great compared to our previous generation.
Yeah.
What we are asked to do and put out is not rewarded in the same way of compensating.
Well, we live in Pennsylvania, and this really wasn't a topic on finances, but in our our state, if you're supposedly, you know, the Forbes whatever put out, you gotta be making in a household over $150K to be able to have a family of 4 and still be like reasonable.
I wouldn't even say that's enough.
Yeah, and
That's not even enough.
right. And
That's
it's
just to
wild.
buy a house.
Yeah.
You know, it's wild. Like bringing home $150K between your household to be able, and we know a lot of people. We live close to the city. There's more than enough people who aren't bringing that home.
Yeah, for the older generation who thinks that we're not grateful, I promise if I could afford a house, didn't have student debt, and could go on vacations without feeling bad for them, you know, doing the things I actually want to do, I wouldn't bitch. I wouldn't complain at all.
And to be left alone on vacations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being left alone on vacation. I'm sitting on the beach on Thursday, or it was like a Thursday. I got a new manager. I had a event I had to plan for the next week. I'm getting phone calls, and it's like they were mindful, and I'm not shitting on them for calling me. I was happy to chat with the dude who got promoted and talk to my buddy for a minute. No big deal. But back in the day, that was not a real thing, and that's a phone's issue. Is making you feel like again everything's dire. Brandon and I on the way to work on the podcast on a weekday, and he gets a phone call. It's like I gotta answer this. Like I might be the only person that could help the situation, and it's a fire that I have to put out, and that's a bummer. And with those instances, it just makes it tough to kind of differentiate like what is important and what isn't.
Well, it makes you like when you're someone who is like, I'm not answering my phone when I'm on my days off, and then you call someone and you're like, hey, I don't know if you're not working or not today, and they're like, oh, I'm always working, and you're like, that's the problem.
Please don't.
Yep.
Please don't always work.
No, like enjoy your day off, you know. But this topic came from my mom, and my mom was the one who brought this, topic to our plate and was like, I feel like you guys should have a conversation about before cell phones were a thing, because now every kid has a tablet and they just cannot have small talk. Well, she's dealing with all the youth of our area and whatnot. She's like, these kids are not like they were like, 20, 30 years ago, whenever I was, dealing with this, same job of where kids could actually talk to her. Now it's like kids are just absolutely stuck, just staring at their screens, just going cross-eyed, like with the screen, like literally like this close to them. And you can't have a conversation with any of these kids. And like, so that's where like the topic of like, what was life like when your mom was driving you to soccer practice and you had to stare out the window and you saw, oh, the Arby's just got a new sign. When did we got a Popeyes? When did we get a Popeyes? Like you saw those things. You got to see what your neighborhood actually like transitioned to. Like I remember there was a car dealership in my area that constantly changed. And I could probably tell you all the different car dealerships that it was when going through like all of my life, because I didn't have that stuff. Yes, we finally got the Game Boys, which were badass. Like, don't get me wrong, that was cool. But like, you were playing a video game, so it wasn't that you were like, you weren't doing, and I say this out of respect because it's just from my personal experience of like the scrolling and whatnot, of just that not always feeling like you're really getting benefit from it, versus like, okay, I got to be strategic and I'm using hand-eye coordination and I'm doing things that are actually like building me up, which is what video games do, which is going to be our next topic here on the next episode. But yeah, this topic came from my mom of just like, I feel like you guys should talk about what it was like for you guys when you actually really could talk, because people in their 30s can still have small talk and maybe some don't. And like, I know I experienced that where like, I feel like people can't really have just that bullshit and small talk anymore versus like the water cooler talk that you talked about.
Yeah.
So, Brandon's about to have a little one. None of us have, kids that are of age yet to grab a cell phone. But, my niece, she's 10 and she doesn't have a phone. So my niece has a watch and it goes through my sister's actual cell plan. And so she can text and she can call on this watch, but she can only do it with determined numbers. Like, my sister has to literally program the phone numbers into her watch that she can talk to and communicate with. So like I understand she's got to sit there and like talk through her little watch, and that's probably not as enjoyable as having a phone. But like, I have access to my niece, and like my niece has access to be able to tell people like where she's at, because now she's doing, all kind of cool things. She's going to camps all the time and like has the ability to feel like there's that safety. And obviously it's probably a tracker too for my sister to know where she's at. But like, if I had a 10-year-old, that would be the vibe that I had for them, of like them being able to communicate with me and with their relatives, and for them to be able to like, it's fun when I get a text message from Maisie that just says, hi, how are you? and I get to just talk to her for like a couple minutes, and communicate back and forth. Or she calls me and we talk on the phone for a little bit. That is so cool when I don't always get the opportunity because of how busy her schedule is to spend a lot of time with her. But I would not want my kids to have access to the wild world of the internet, because I always, and this is my favorite, I brought this up in the internet episode that we did, of just the you remember the Tide Pod challenge, and the guy who literally took like Ajax and spreaded it out on a table and cut it up like it was cocaine, and some lady commented, was like, or the kid wrote, "Y'all are doing the Tide Pod challenge, you need to step up to a real man's challenge." Like that was the meme. And some lady commented on it, was like, kids are gonna try this and they're gonna die. And he goes, "Welcome to the internet. Welcome to the Thunderdome, motherfucker. It's the internet." And I was just like, holy fudge. Like, that's where it was like, you had to have some discernment. And like, we don't arguably, like, have we taken that out of reality, where we've really dumbed down reality to where it's like Darwinism isn't really a thing anymore, where like, there was a lot of us who were just dying because we were stupid.
Yeah.
I say that out of respect. I'm not saying that I actually think people are dumb, but like, when you did a stupid thing, you died. But now we've literally like kind of ramped our society down where we're protecting everybody, which is great. I think that's awesome. But when you have people who are posting shit like that on the internet, and you're sitting here going, no, kids are really going to F themselves up if they do that.
Yeah.
That's hard to say, like, I want to allow my kid the opportunity to be able to like explore that area.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a difference between allowing a kid to go out and fail in the real world, or like, learn street smarts. Like, oh, shouldn't do that. That's going to be burnt, compared to allowing them to go out on the internet and expect the same. Like, nowhere in the real world, if there is this place, tell me, because I'll go, is there 4 women with their shirts off, Pepe the Frog smoking a doobie in the corner, and then like 6 different things that, of guys getting shot in the head in the Middle East or something. Like, no kid should ever see that. Nor do you see that in the real world. Like, that's like, the discernment of like, yes, you should allow kids to go fail in the trials and tribulations of real life experience should be put on a kid. I feel like the helicopter parent situation there should kind of take a step back and let kids go deal with their own shit, because they're going to do it anyway. But on the internet side, like, it's just so much shit that like, even as like 32 years old, that I just don't need to see. I'm actively trying to avoid. Like, I'm trying so hard to get my algorithm to just show me the shit I want to see, and I feel like it just keeps showing me the shit that I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I have no interest in seeing. So it's like, with that, I think that a kid really doesn't, like, my little sister has a phone, but it's connected to the Wi-Fi, and she only gets it when my parents know that she has it. So that's how it should go. Like, in my opinion, like a 10-year-old kid should not have a phone. I got mine 12 or 13. Still, even when it had limited access to the internet, still think it was too early. Like, I think you nailed it when you get the access to drive a car. I think that's when you should get a cell phone. Like, it's a freedom. It's a, I need to be connected where you are, because most parents should know where a kid is before 16. Like, 16 is when I got my first job. Probably need a cell phone to let you know, like, I'm heading home from work. I got to work safely. I'm leaving school. I'm going to practice. I'm driving. Everything else is a bus from school, a bus home. That was it. There wasn't a need for all that. So the news yesterday, kids under 13 who get access to the cell phone, sleep deprivation, cyberbullying, and negative family relationships all correlated to kids who get cell phones under 13. So go fuck yourself, Dad. On top of that, I'm staring at my phone till 2 a.m. And then the cyberbullying thing, like, it's crazy, but it probably is worse now than even it was when we were younger. Like, I remember like kids making like fake Facebook pages and making fun of people. I know you know what I'm talking about. So like, that was like, you had to get really creative back in the day. Like, I can only imagine what cyberbullying looks like now, because there's like those big, headline articles of like one person's name gets put out there for making a mistake, and now the whole world knows that. And that's just not the way it should be. There's a lot worse things a kid could do nowadays with a cell phone than even 10, 15 years ago. And I think that has to be put in the hands of the parent. Like, that's on them 100% to make sure that they monitor what they're doing, make sure they make a conscious decision as to like, is this actually going to be a benefit to their life and not so much they just keep asking me because Susie got one.
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword because now, like, it doesn't matter if you have Snapchat location on or not. If I have that cell phone and someone knows my phone number, they can triangulate me at any point in time.
Yeah.
So, like, having all these different pieces of technology that are on you, like, you can be located at any point in time.
Right.
Versus, like, if I have nothing on me, then you got to be able to figure out how to tap into the CCTV and be able to literally have facial recognition, like tracking my ass to be able to find me.
Yeah.
Versus, like, that's like a high level hacking type of stuff that you have to be able to do. Versus, like, now, you know, I'm walking around with a device that's literally ping, 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 literally going off all the cell towers.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a reason why there's guys out there who have created, like, hoodies and different, like, face masks that you can wear that literally repel your ability to be, like, facial recognized.
Yeah.
Like, why would there be people out there who are making these products if it wasn't beneficial to not be able to be tracked all the time?
Yeah.
I was trying to remember why Rite Aid went out of business. I think that's related. Facial tracking. I think they got sued, and I think it got shoved under the rug. But I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Their cameras were using a new experimental technology, and I think they got sued for it because you are recording people and kind of adopting and taking their likeness, and you're not doing it with their consent.
Yeah. Rite Aid banned for using AI facial recognition technology for surveillance purposes, 5 years to settle with the FTC.
So bye-bye, Rite Aid.
Yeah.
It was one of my first jobs, and
Nostalgia trip.
I
Well,
mean,
maybe they would just stop shoplifters. Like, that was also a Rite Aid thing. It's like, just let them steal everything. Like, no, what if I just smacked you over the fucking head and you never came back? And then you get sued. But you got sued anyway. So, like, you know, you were going to get sued. Why not get sued a noble way?
This is a little bit of a rant that I have. I won't spend any time on it, but I remember I said, can we get a bubble mirror there? Can we get those Walgreen mirrors that they have that show you the aisle so I could ring people out and watch all the aisles?
Yeah.
No, we can't do that. Why not? Because it tells people we don't trust them. I was like, I don't trust them.
Yeah, let me be the first to say.
I've actively caught one person stealing. Another person, I pretty much had them. No, I did have them, and then they backed up into another car and ran. And then another person, I connected all the dots, and I was like, you stole that. And then they called in a complaint on the manager that I had, the assistant store manager, because he wouldn't let her come back in the store because she stole it. Everybody knew it was like 2 stores down. There was a feather duster. She stole it, and we couldn't do anything about it. And she got a $25 gift card. But she eventually got kicked out of that school anyway.
God, you can't pay me to dust shit at my house. This woman prioritizes so much she stole a duster.
And it was the last feather duster. After that, it was no longer feathers. So we knew that she stole it and had it. But neither here nor there. That shit's crazy about the tracking. Fun fact for everybody, your phone leaves breadcrumbs. Everywhere you go, your phone, my phone, your phone, all of them could probably tell us the last 30 places that we were at and put a timestamp on it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I try to do everything I can and go in my settings, watch YouTube videos, find things and be like, it's not that I'm doing anything wrong. This is just, you don't have the right to be tracking my stuff without my consent. And Apple, you guys are guilty of it. You are not letting people have full consent on that. You give them 30 pages of an agreement that no one reads. We all hit agree. And then it's like as if we consented, but you don't have our consent because we're not fully knowing what it is. If someone has an intellectual disability, they can't consent to that because they don't understand it. In the same way, I am legally disabled. So I don't consent to you guys tracking me. I'm not going to understand 30 pages of shit, nor do I have time every time my phone wants to update once a month so it can slow it down and make me buy the new one. I don't have time to read all that. But my kid, I'm going to try to keep them off of social media for, as long as it makes sense and is possible. I'm probably going to give them, I said I was going to give them a dumb phone, but to be honest, I really like that idea of, I have an Apple Watch. I like my Apple Watch a lot. That would be kick-ass if I could link them up. I could find my iPhone to track them if needed. only give them the numbers that they need. So it's kind of like our childhood just revitalized. It's just instead of going to find the landline, you're walking with your landline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is so cool.
And
That's
it gives
why-
her small talk.
Yep. Yeah, it allows them whenever they're bored to communicate with family. Like, I think that's so dope.
Yep.
So, this was an absolute kick-ass episode on prehistoric. How the hell did we live before cell phones? Yeah, it was it was a different time, that's for sure. So this was a nostalgia trip, and I want to give Derry the floor. You got any walkout moments here?
No walk-off home runs over here. I think the biggest focal point for me, which I hit on already, was just the ability to allow phones nowadays to complement your life. Your phone doesn't dictate your life. People lived with phones before, or lived without phones way before cell phones were a thing. You were still able to hang out with your friends. You were still able to see your family. You were still able to go do the things you want to do. You probably were a lot happier in those moments. I know recently on vacation, I was probably happier because I could just leave my cell phone inside and not think about it. So just lean on that a little bit. Make sure that you know that that shit doesn't dictate your life.
Brando, you got any walkout moments?
Right along with Derry, I'd say just give yourself breaks. Just start scheduling yourself breaks from your phones. Let everybody who's important know, hey, I'm taking a little phone sabbatical. Just give yourself some time off on it.
Yeah, mine is just find that healthy relationship. It can be anything in your life can be healthy if you build it the correct way. You know, building that trust with the phone, building the trust with the people that you communicate through the phone with, and also like allowing yourself, like you just said, it's not that hard to send a text message and say, hey, I'm honestly putting my phone away for the next week. I'm going on vacation. I absolutely love you guys. But if I don't respond for the next week, there's good reason.
Treating it like an email, like you mentioned, where is the out of office message on a cell phone?
They need one.
Why don't they have? Why can't I just go and say, Derek is currently playing 6 hours of rematch on his Xbox. He doesn't want you to bother him right now.
That is a good point.
He'll get back to you tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah, we're all right. So we're throwing that out there to you. Android, iPhone, create something where it goes like that. Yeah, the out of office message reply. I like that.
Yeah.
I know you can put on the do not disturb.
That doesn't
but
do
that
anything
doesn't
for me. That just makes me want to bother you even more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to call you 3 times now.
All right, y'all. The group says, don't trust us, trust yourself, because you got all the answers. And this is not a do as we say type of podcast where, you know, take our word as Bible. This is just a deep dive, authentic, you know, vulnerable dive into our experiences and what we've, you know, gone through life. So we appreciate you guys riding with us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one. We rode with Brandon today, and for all y'all out there, we do call him Titty. And we rode with Derry and myself, Zach, and this is the Dismount OGs signing off. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.
Thank you.
Later.
Thanks again for tuning in to episode 47, Prehistoric. How did we live before cell phones? Don't hesitate to catch the gang's next release, episode 48, Fantasy World. How do I stay grounded in reality? With so many different ways to escape reality through video games and simulators, how do we draw the line in the sand? Well, the gang comes together, and let's give you 2 sneak peek of the question that the gang, put together with the outline for the next one. What aspects of your real life sometimes feel less real or less fulfilling than what you experience in a fantasy world? And the second one from that outline, how do you personally draw the boundary between enjoying a fantasy and avoiding your reality? What helps you stay grounded? Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one.